Welcome, family. Welcome to another episode of Walking with the Master. I have the awesome opportunity to share, this show with you, and to have a friend of mine, a brother of mine, on this show, who I've known for many years. Uh, Grandmaster Anton Salahuddin Muhammad is here, and we want to definitely welcome. But before you welcome, I want to make sure that all of you, please take the opportunity at this time to share with others to let them know that we are on live and rolling. Also, I want you to just hit your subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is the official Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad YouTube channel. We look forward to having you there so that we can keep you abreast of all that is going on. We got some exciting stuff. So here we go. Welcome, Grandmaster Anton Muhammad. How are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent, thank Allah.
Absolutely. All praises are due to Allah. Well, anyway, you are here on the show. The show is about Doc. It's about Doc, but it's about those who had the opportunity to walk with him. And I have chosen to choose those in the earlier stage that walked with him earlier. And we're going to get an opportunity. There's some that haven't walked with him, but they have learned from him. And then there are those who have started to walk with him at later periods of time. We're going to get everyone. And we're looking for you to just enjoy and learn, because all of this is about Dr. Moses Powell. It's not just about us, but it is about him and our walk with him. So walking with the master is here and ready for you. So Grandmaster Muhammad, tell me a little bit about where you came from.
Okay, I'm from New York, and at 4 years old, they put me in a martial art class, jiu-jitsu in Brooklyn. And when I became 12 years old, I got my black belt at 13. But when I was 12 years old, I went with a friend of mine, which is you, to see Doc. And that's when I became famous because it was a interesting day that day. And the Doc, I think he threw me about 5 times. And then I realized that I needed to change. And that's when I became a nicer person.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be touching that nice person quite a bit today, but I don't want you to bypass your roots. You said they put me in martial arts school when you were 4. I want to know who the they are. Who are they?
Okay.
And I want to know who was your teacher at that time, and give me a little bit about your early beginning.
My early beginning was Shepherd Avenue in New York. I was with El Nas School, and I studied with Professor Abbas Muhammad, and I studied with Shihan Lukman Abdul Hakim. And then when I turned 9 years old, I started doing Aikido. But I started Jiu-Jitsu at 4, and at 6 I started doing karate with Tom LaPuppet and George Cofield. So I studied 3 different things over. And then when I got a little older, that's when I came with Doc.
Great.
And I came because of you.
Well, and I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. So we can that story.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
your you were introduced to these other styles and whatnot. Well, why did that happen? What was it that made them put you into this one and then into another one? And you're very young. You're just following what you're being guided to by someone. So who are they that did this?
Okay. We used to go to the mosque, and my father was in martial art, and from my dad, he was training with Abbas Muhammad and the rest of the brothers that was from Shepherd Avenue. It was a large group of them. It was like 20 black belts, and out of the 20 black belts, my uncle Abbas was the most nicest person in a way. And he was the one that really was the one I was right under. My uncle Abbas was someone that was very inspirational to me. I trained with him. I trained and I trained, and he sent me to the other places to acquire more information. And then when I think I was, we went to Pierre and started studying Shotokan also. Remember that? I
Well,
think you came with me.
it wasn't that I studied under Pierre, Grandmaster Pierre Rene, but I had a great association with him and a lot of respect. And you know, of course, there was aspects. I mean, we studied everywhere in terms of learning, but you know, being with Doc, you know, these were the days where you know you could go into various things, but you couldn't. I couldn't see myself joining anything, but we were able to learn from people that we came into contact with. So yes, I do recall, of course, Pierre T. Rene. He had an awesome school and had some tremendous students
Right,
there.
that was right. That was right around the corner from where I lived at, on Ocean Avenue in Brooklyn, and that's why I was studying. You know, when I came from the university, it was a number of places that we would train in one day. I would start in the morning with my uncle Lukman Abdul Hakim, and I would do Aikido early in the morning, right before after Fajr, and then I would go to university, and then after the university, excuse me, then we would go to Flatbush Avenue and study with Doc, and then after that, I went out to Shepherd Avenue again, and I would train with those brothers. So
Okay.
it was a number of classes per day. I think I studied like 3 times a day.
Mhm.
It was a bit hard on me at one time, you
Yeah.
know, because I didn't get to play basketball, I didn't get to play baseball, I didn't get to hang out, I didn't get to party. I had to go to class. So it was inspirational. And then when I went to Doc,
Well,
after that, he called my uncle up and said that I was an interesting young man, you know, and he liked me, but he thought I was crazy.
it sounds like you have a lot
But
of that. It sounds like in the background there are things that you are not saying, but you know, we'll keep digging into it, you know, so we can have the truth, the whole truth, and nothing.
the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Um, being a dojo brat like yourself, you know, us being dojo brats.
Well,
Uh,
let's do this, Grandmaster Anton. This is your interview. I'll do mine, but you like to involve and other people into your story. So I want you to give your story right now. I'll do mine.
okay. Okay, I was a dojo brat. So,
Yeah.
it was very interesting for me. So, to train, was something, and going to tournaments, at a young age, and winning trophies. And it was very, very interesting and very, it actually was fantastic, you know, to one point. I always have to say I was thankful for all the masters that I studied under, that they were masters who were legends. And I really didn't realize that when I was growing up. I just thought that they would send me someplace because I did something wrong that day and I got in trouble. So uh, they sent me someplace to uh, to encourage me.
Okay.
I,
Well,
I got I got encouraged a lot.
he doesn't mean jail.
No, it wasn't jail. It was encouragement by different masters. They sent me to the Bronx. They sent me to Queens. They sent me up to Harlem. Sam McGee, Master Sam McGee. I studied with him. Gojuru, and that was very different to be sent those places and for the people to know your relatives. And when you come there, they look at you as the nephew of such and such, the nephew of such and such. And then they would encourage me. So it was really intense at one time. And I wanted to change up, but once you are in the martial art, it's almost like being in the mob. You don't get out, and it's a refreshing thing not to get out in one way. In one way, it's you want to stop exercising and all that, But it was great. It was I was blessed to be around a lot of different masters
Let me,
throughout my life, and I highly appreciate that.
yes, sir. Let me ask you this. Um, you know, I want you to kind of go into Abbas. Uh, Abbas was a primary instructor in the early days for you.
Yes,
Kind of,
him and Lukman, him and Lukman was, yeah. It was like two classes that were always, and then even when I went to Doc's class, when we was in university, um, when we go to Doc's class, he would speak to Doc on how I was in class. So he used to observe me, and all of the students that was under Doc were like our uncles, if you think about it.
mhm.
And the one I got touched by as like the younger brother was Soki Littlejohn, you know, and he was very inspirational to me.
Could you say it one more time? I didn't quite get that. I want it to be heard very well.
I said that I was inspired and encouraged um, by my big brother and my instructor, Soki Littlejohn Davis.
All right.
Yeah, for some reason, I got encouraged a lot, um, but that was because I I um I didn't do anything. It wasn't my fault, but some things would happen, and then of course you would be encouraged, and then you would change. So I was inspired by him, and I appreciate that immensely.
That's
And
awesome.
my other brother would tell my brother so he could inspire me. So that was one of the things that I love about you. Is uh, you grow up in the art and you learn the principles and you learn the technical part of it. So when you're doing a technique, everything is broken down. And the good thing about us being in the art and me being in the art was the fact is that we couldn't make mistakes. We had to do it in a correct way. And that was one of the things that's different from a lot of people that join the art and they just do it because it's fun. It was one of our principles. So when we would do a technique, we had to make sure that we had it correctly. And that's one of the things that inspired me.
That's great.
And then when I moved out to California, I thought that I was free, you know. And I came out here, and of course, Doc started visiting me, and of course, I was working out on the same consistent level that I was in New York.
That's great.
And every 3 months, he would come out here. It was very interesting,
Hmm.
you know. I have it in so many DVDs and VHS back there that you see back of me that will tell the story, you know, of how to be an inspired young man. Um, and the thing about it is that everyone should look for that. They should look for that type of person that will inspire them.
Okay, excellent. I wanted to make sure that the audience understood a couple of things. When you make the statement of encouraged, that what that means, uh, uh, means that you would work with them in such a way that it would move them to do what is necessary because of the techniques or whatever the case is. But it was that was good. So touching. So when you hear encouraged, know that it wasn't just verbal encouragement,
No, it wasn't, not at all.
physical encouragement.
No, no, not at all. When I say encourage or get touch, okay, touch means that you're connected with your instructor. And as a connection with your instructor, connection with your parents, connection with your teachers, uh, that's something that you're connected with mentally, physically, and spiritually. But but I got connected not only spiritually and mentally, but I got connected physically a lot, you know, which was inspirational. Um, and as far as to be, um, it made sure that I did my techniques correctly.
Yes, sir.
I have to say that.
Well, children in the family, in one's family, sometimes have to be encouraged a little more. Let
You enjoyed this, aren't you, Anthony?
me ask you this, Grandmaster Anton. You used to, and I recall it very well, you were doing a lot of, you would bring Doc out, you would bring Soke out, you would bring myself, you bring Grandmaster Bill, you brought um, uh, your instructors out to California when you got out there. You had a very strong school at that time. Tell tell us a little bit about that period and what it was like and whatnot.
That was a blessing because when I came out to the West Coast, the first place uh, that me and Doc went to and was going down to LA. Doc was there because of Muhammad Shabazz. He was doing something in the 80s. It was like in 89. And I went down there and did the seminar with, that was in the seminar with Doc, which was inspirational. But because I was a dojo um, young man, a lot of people felt slightly intimidated by having someone around that grew up in it and is right close. But Doc looked out for me when I was in LA. And so then he started coming to California, Northern California. In Northern California, they didn't have jujitsu. We were something new. And so when we came, we was inspirational. Matter of fact, my brother came and we went to a tournament and he won trophies. He took home like 3 trophies, which was very inspirational. And then every time I went, to a tournament, I was winning the trophy so much that when some people would see me, they wouldn't join in doing the self-defense. They wouldn't join in the kata because they knew that I was going to win first place.
Mhm.
And it's not like that I didn't enjoy it, but that was something that we had to do. And was and then what happened also that was a blessing from Allah, from God, was that my students, when we first went to the first tournament, was 1988. 1988. 1988. We first went to the tournament. Every student that I had 9 children with me. And out of the 9 children, 5 of them won trophies.
Wow.
And so that's what inspired me in the West Coast.
Yes, yes. You used to have a nice number of students, and they all looked very good when we would come out. So yes, sir, it was great. Well, when when I invited you out to the dojo, you know, that first time uh, at Atlantic Avenue, over to Atlantic Avenue, and you, it's a, you know, yes, yes, he had to. What was the word that you used again?
Touched.
Well, touch, yes, encouraged. I would say encouraged is a better word. Uh, Definitely, when you came in and Doc asked for somebody to come up, and you jumped up, and when you jumped, you know, uh, uh, this was because you moved so quickly. You didn't think about giving courtesy, and you threw the punch, and Doc, he encouraged you, and you then and then you jumped up again, and he encouraged you some more. And after maybe about the third time, I said, sit
Yeah, you were sitting and you did like this, like sit down, sit down. And
down.
I jumped up, and for some strange reason I came at him again. And then he looked at you like this, and then he looked at me like that. And then I got up again, and that was the last time after that one I stayed down because his knee was on my head.
Well, that was that was the good days, huh? How about that?
Yeah, it was.
Yes, sir.
But this is one beautiful thing about studying properly is the fact is that when I came out to California, I became a bouncer in a club, in clubs, you know, and then I would be a head of security also. But in it, in real situations, because of the fact is I was trained properly, and I got touched by Doc and Abbas and all my family members, um, that it saved me from getting hurt. You know, uh, I remember when you was with the city of New York, uh, you
Corrections.
know, collection. Yeah, I remember that, and that taught, but that taught us how to protect ourselves. Because I remember an incident happened where a guy came at you, and you encouraged him, and which was an excellent thing because you didn't have to hurt him, you just encouraged him, and that stopped it. And that's the same thing with the bouncing. I was a bouncer, and because I'm only 160 at the time I was born, 50. This was the most interesting. Would build up my student population. Also, I had a Samoan who was 340 pounds, and he was there. And unfortunately, he attacked me, right? Because he didn't really think anything about me because he was like, what's this little guy gonna do? Little nerd gonna do? Pick me up and slam me against the wall. Thank God I used my back, and I didn't hit with my back, I hit with my gluteus. and then I punched him in his neck and I dropped him, and then I hit him in the back of his calf, and then I went across his throat, and then I choked him, and then he did this, and I stopped. I was nervous after like this, but he became my friend after, and he was happy that I didn't take him out, and that was one of the things that changed my life because everybody starts speaking about me. Every time they see me, they would say him, the little, you know. And then unfortunately, they was calling me a little bourgeois um, uh, bouncer. I don't know why. I don't know why they said that, but that's what they were saying. But it encouraged people to want to train with me. So I really appreciated the techniques that Doc showed me because I was able to use the person's anatomy and to look at it like I was um, looking at it like the numbers, like matrix. And I appreciate my instructor, Soki Lujan, coming out and encouraging me.
Awesome. Let me ask you. Let's really go into to Doc a little more. How he was. And everyone knows that Doc was awesome in fighting. In his ability, uh,
Yes.
physical damage. I remember in a magazine where Chuck Norris was asked a question in the magazine, and it was to it was with Doc, and it was like, who would you say is better? You are Moses Powell. I'm paraphrasing it, but it was in that line, and the answer was what was best, and I really appreciated the answer. And he didn't give an answer saying, "Okay, I'm better, he's better." He just said, I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley."
Well, he came to the dojo too.
Who is that?
Chuck Norris. He came and trained a little, a
Well,
couple of times.
I wasn't aware of that, but yes, sir.
Yeah, because I think that was after he had spoke about it, but he was very inspired by Doc.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, I personally like uh, Master Chuck Norris, and he was also a great uh, uh, he was a great uh, instrument to spread martial arts in a lot of different areas. Even though, of course, I know how we weren't given much opportunity, but just like Bruce Lee was an instrument to share the art. Chuck was as well. Chuck Norris was as well. But anyway, I wanted to go into Doc. I want to go into Doc and how he was in terms of his care, his concern, his personal self. How did talk to me about a little of that? How was Doc personally? Did you find that Doc shared um, wisdom?
Yes. Yes. Now, let me go into that. The beautiful thing about it is that he even told me never argue with a student, never be angry at a student. Explain to them what they need, explain to them what they need to do, and do it. And so when he would come out here and visit, he would stay with me for a month, and it was very inspirational. So then um, he would uh, he would go and he would just sit in the class, and he wouldn't say anything throughout the class. He would watch me. He would sit and watch me. And if I made any mistakes in any way, after the students left, he would encourage me. And he would touch me and explain to me exactly what I was doing incorrect. And so that made me um, very aware of not just looking at it from one point of view, but looking from a massive point of view. So I was appreciative. And that was one of the most beautiful thing about it. It was almost like he was almost like our dad, you know, that we was around him so much, you know, uh, you know, and this is some of the things that, you know, Doc was inspiration. Now this is one of the best things ever happened to me. I got to see Professor V throw Doc, and I got to say, Doc was an inspiration because of the fact is, just think of learning the technique from someone who's 110 pounds, who's only 5'2", and that person being able to touch exactly the nervous system, and touch exactly the bone system, touch exactly. And so, what Doc got when he was younger, just like we were young, he got inspired because he was only 10 when he started working with Professor V. So he got inspired in the same way we got inspired. And that's the most beautiful thing about it. Being raised in it, you understand it from a different point of view. And it's a normal thing for you just to uh, have it without making mistakes. It's almost like closing your eyes when somebody punches at you and you just block and, you know, bring them to you and headbutt them and say, don't do that.
It's
So, you know, the beautiful thing about it is, too, is that we were consistent. And that's what I've been trying to tell people now. You know, if you're going to train, don't come once a month. Don't come every 3 months and then want to just wear a belt. Come and get the information. You know, come and learn the details. And that's the way a true student is. A lot of people now are just participants. They're not students. You have very, the ones who are students are inspired by their teacher. The one who are students are connected with their teacher, you know, and this is something that was a blessing for us as youth, that we were connected, where Doc wasn't only our, our instructor, our teacher, our master, but Doc was, we were connected to him. And that was a beautiful thing, you know. What was so inspirational too is when I came to Chicago, you know, and I would be at your seminars and I would get inspired and I would get touched. But then what it gave me is that anytime somebody would approach me in a negative way, I knew how to figure them out before I even touched them. I knew how to figure them out by just looking at them, you know, which put a smile on my face, you know. And so that was the most inspirational thing that I have, that I'm so thankful to Allah for blessing us with Dr. Moses Powell.
absolutely. Well, what would you say is your highlight in your life with regard to Doc? You know, with just what are the greatest things that you would name to say that uh, you know, because I was here, he showed me this. This has changed my life in various ways.
Right, right. The one good thing that was inspirational, and at one time, um, any place that Doc was, we would travel to. Doc was in Alaska. I went to Alaska because I was on the West Coast. Doc was in Hawaii. I went to Hawaii. Doc was in Colorado. Doc was any place that he went. And you remember we was in Bermuda, um, Puerto Rico, you know, and those were the inspired things. Florida, Atlanta, you know. And one thing that was different between me and my brother being under Doc. Uh, it was one time Doc was doing a technique and he was real close, and he was explaining to the person that you had to learn how to accept the person that's doing the technique on you, and you had to flow with it. And the guy wanted to do the same thing that we were doing, but he wasn't ready. And so Doc told my brother Abdulaziz to throw him, and you threw him. You know, it took him 15 years to get to know how to do what we were doing. And I was inspired by that, you know, and I made sure that I was teaching my students in the same way so they could always flow. Flowing is something that is one thing that was inspirational, you know, and this is something that Doc taught us that was very, very inspirational, to always have that flow, you know, and even if they were negative, instead of you flowing negative, you can flow positive, which would stop their negativity.
Are you talking about you're speaking about uh, just life lessons?
The life lessons of it, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and doing security for different imams or different ministers, right? And even how it inspired me when I was working for X-Man Security, you know, it inspired me, you know, because uh, learning how to deal with negativity, somebody screaming at you, somebody, instead of it just speaking to them, was something that was inspirational for everyone. And so I have to appreciate that, you know. And then also when we went someplace, because of the background and being with a legend, um, we were looked at differently and we was appreciated.
Mhm.
At least some people appreciate us. Once we didn't appreciate it, it didn't matter.
Okay. So, so you've you know, so Doc, of course, we've been present around Doc, and but you have Soke Little John Davis, who you know, when we talk about walking with the master, and I want everyone to understand that all of the masters that come on to our show here are like chapters.
That's true. So those are the good things. You know, the life of growing up in our system is the most inspirational because growing up with legends makes you different. I consider myself, as they say, a samurai because of the fact is being taught the different from the spiritual side of it, from the mental side of it, from the physical side of it. That is something that we are blessed with. That Doc gave us. We were like samurai. Even the way we dressed, the way we talk, the way we act, all that was inspired.
Grandmaster Anton, I want you to know that that we appreciate you. You are one of the children of Doc, and Doc touched a lot of people. You know,
Oh yeah, he did. He
we
did.
yeah, he's touched so many people. You know, different times of his life, but nonetheless, they are also family. Uh,
True.
we appreciate Doc's wisdom and his longevity in terms of what he has done. You know, he's done just so much that people all around the world speak about him. You know,
Yeah, we have a brother in the UK. There was a brother in Paris. You know, I went overseas, and that was one thing that inspired me when I was overseas. I was in Spain. I was in the UK. I was in Japan. Um, I was in Korea for only a short time, but I was in Japan, and Morocco, in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, in Australia. I had been around so many places, but was such an inspiration was the fact that I was a student of Moses Powell.
Yes, sir.
And that was very inspirational,
Well,
you know.
well, Grandmaster Anton, we
Yes.
thank you for being present on this episode of Walking with the Master. And we pray that those who listen to this can learn some things. And I know one thing that they'll learn is about being inspirational. And
uh,
so listen. And again, I pray that everyone enjoys this episode with Anton Salahuddin Muhammad, a longtime practitioner under Dr. Moses Powell, to name just name him outside of others that you have trained with. So, with that being said, family, let's make sure that you take the opportunity to share this because it's going to stay up. You're going to always have access to come on and get inspired by this.
Get inspired.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, all of our family out there in the audience. Thank you for coming and visiting us. And we look forward to seeing you at our next episode, which is going to be awesome as well. Thank you. Thank you, Grandmaster Anton, and have a wonderful day. Us.
is willing to take up the fight for us. But if it is forced on us, we too have to fight. Every student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you